This is round 2 of the Cornerstone tournament that we had in Portland, Oregon, played at FAB Foundry. Top of the screen is Steve, who won his first round, and bottom is, I believe, Brenton, a player coming up from McMinnville to play in our tournament. It was really cool to see everybody that was able to make it to our regional tournament. We definitely had some people traveling locally from different areas to Portland to play. So we had some players coming up from McMinnville. We had some players coming down from, I believe, like the Shelton area in Washington. Griff, the player that played in round 1 with Steve in the previous video, came down from Washington to play. And it's always cool to see all those people that are willing to come and travel. I've gone down, and some other the Portland locals have gone down to Minville as well to play at their shop. And unfortunately, there aren't that many shops doing any sort of organized play in certain areas of Washington and the Seattle area consistently yet. I know that Seattle does have a scene, but they are more focused on I think like casual meetup play, usually at like a local brewery, and not organized through a game store per se. It looks like Brenton also playing Enchantress, which is cool to see. Turn 1 was Lookout. That's why we got to get a good look at Steve's hand. He's got some scary stuff in there for kind of mid to late game, but he's got to get there in order to use it first. Turn 1, he's got the Forge, creates the Lance with Tawny. That's always a pretty good start for this type of aggressive druid deck that he's running. Brenton playing a Funeral Pyre. Genesis probably doesn't matter with Funeral Pyre in this matchup. You're usually only putting it in there to help safeguard against if you get matched up against, say, like Archimago or Death Speaker currently. And I think that's a Swiven Scout that he played for 2. Steve playing a Vesuvius to the center of the board. Not terrible placement for that card. 2 for a Warhorse. Warhorse will carry Tawny up, and then he's going to use Tawny with the Lance to strike and kill that Scout. So, not a bad play. A good play for Steve. He definitely has the aggressive start that he wants here. He's taken out Brenton's threats, and has board presence with 2 units. Brenton pulls a red cap. Pretty good. He's opting to get the damage in on the site instead of clearing out the Warhorse. So that does give Steve some more options, and maybe opportunity to remove the red cap on this turn. He's got 3 mana for turn now. And just untapping the Warhorse. He forgot to do that when he untapped Tawny. He's attacking in for 3 points of damage with his minions. And opting to use a spell, Minor Explosion, to deal the 3 to kill the Poweries in passing turn. Still a pretty good aggressive play for Steve. Maintaining his board presence with 2 minions, clearing out the red caps. Brenton playing a Drought, again in an Enchantress deck. I think like the Drought is just there to catch anybody running water it can throw anybody playing water off guard, but also it's going to provide a 4 power body to the Enchantress whenever the Enchantress ability procs, and he can animate that aura. The Enchantress is a very it's a complicated avatar to play. It's a very confusing avatar. It has a lot of like special rules in terms of how animated aura minions work and interact with the game. But basically, whenever the Enchantress casts a spell, it can animate an aura on the board and turn it into an aura minion, and its power will be equal to the casting cost of that aura. The aura minion also maintains or keeps all of the abilities that the aura itself had. It gives them a lot of really interesting like board possibilities, because auras typically are on the nexus of 2 to 4 sites. In this case, it's on the nexus of 4 sites. It occupies all 4 sites at the same time, so it has tremendous reach in terms of what it can attack, which is a double-edged sword, because since it occupies all of those sites, your opponent can also interact with it on all of those sites as well. Steve, looking at his options here, I see a monstrous lion peeking out of his hand. So monstrous lion, the drought was 4 mana, right? The monstrous lion could take care of that once it's animated, but it wasn't animated yet. So he's tapping for a site, another bonfire. No benefit from the Genesis. I think he's just choosing to push in more damage with his minions, spreading them out a little bit in a spread pattern here, moving them away from the drought, which will likely be animated on Brenton's next turn here. He's got 4 mana for turn, so he's got another play he could make. I think he's thinking about it. He's doing a Warhorse for 2 more points of damage. So even though potentially the Warhorse might die if the Drought animates and attacks it, I think Steve he wants to get more board presence on the board. He wants to push in more damage faster. Force Brenton to make that choice on whether or not he wants to race him and deal 4 points or remove the Warhorse. Brenton playing Poison Well, catching Steve for 2 points of damage with that, which is probably like it's better than average. It's usually the best that you're going to be able to do on a Poison Well to deal 2 points. Sometimes the stars align and you're able to tag your opponent for 3, and then other times, more likely, you're only getting like a single point off of it. Brenton playing down a ring of Morgan on his Enchantress, which has the potential to help him stabilize and swing this game. Because he played a spell, he's animated the Drought aura, and he's choosing to clear board with his Drought by attacking the Warhorse. He plays an Apprentice Wizard, drawing a card off of that, getting a ping effect from the ring to kill Tawny, gain 1 life, and passing turn. So he's done a pretty good job stabilizing the board state for him currently. Like Steve in a tougher position here. the aura is still animated as an aura minion until his next turn. Steve taking the opportunity to use the monstrous lion in his hand to trade and just remove that. So it will not continue to swing for 4 points per turn. I think he's debating. So choosing to push 2 points of damage in by attacking the site, leaving the Apprentice Wizard alone. Brenton opting not to chump block with the wizard at this point in time. Tapping the Enchantress to draw a sight. He's got 5 mana. 5 mana for a Dapral Vampire. He's going to ping the horse for a point from the ring, gain a point of life, and then he's going to run his Apprentice Wizard into the Warhorse, attack it for the second point of damage to remove it from the board. So great play for Brenton. He's got that Vampire on the board now. He has the ring out. He's in a very advantageous position to stabilize with his life, to tick up with his life, and he is forcing Steve to kind of race him and get his life total down faster than he can regain at this point. He's got to get rid of that Vampire, and he does, or he at least deals with it for the time being with an Infiltrate for 4 mana. It's a great play for Steve. Very fortunate that he had that in hand to deal with. Tawny was resummoned with the site that was just played. Passing turn. Brenton looks like he's weighing his options here. I would be a little disappointed if I was Brenton about getting the Vampire infiltrated. Whenever you play like a high threat card like that, you always hope that it sticks for at least one turn, or the only way they can remove it is to attack it somehow, so they get that so you get that 4 life at a minimum from it. He's double checking his mana base. He's got 5 mana. He's going to tap for a Ruins. That'll give him a 6 mana base. And then playing a Saracen Raider and attacking in for 3 points of damage for passing turn. Steve getting his turn started here. Looking at his options, and we saw right at the very beginning of the game, at the top of his curve for 6 mana, he has an Infernal Legion, which can do a lot of work. Mana base right now is 5. I don't know if he has a sight in hand. He's drawing a I think he drew a spell. Honestly, if I was Steve, I probably would have drawn for a sight, so I could play out that Infernal Legion. But instead, he's playing a Kobold as a chump blocker onto for the Saracen. He's going to swing in for 1 with Tawny. And he played a Jihad, which is dangerous. It's dangerous when you're playing against an enchantress to give them to give them that aura, or well, it's easier for the enchantress player to deal with. So I think typically I wouldn't play that jihad unless I had some sort of like charge creature that could take advantage of it and get an extra point of damage to get immediate value out of that thing. Brenton, it looks like he tapped for he drew a spell for turn, tapped for a sight. And yeah, so he's going to play his own Quarrelsome Kobolds. From casting the spell, he's going to animate the Jihad. And then at end of turn, the Kobolds are going to choose to strike the Jihad and kill it. Brenton, also from casting the Kobold, pings the Jihad to gain a life. Brenton then attacking Steve's Kobolds to remove them off the board with the Saracen. And then, yeah, at end of turn, his Kobolds strike the Jihad for 2. So I don't think that Steve was really expecting that. It looked like he had to double check the Enchantress card. He wasn't aware that that the Enchantress could animate his own auras as well. Enchantress, it's a very tricky avatar, has a lot of special rules, and it doesn't see a ton of play. So it is not frequently an avatar that you have to play against. So a lot of players they don't like very few players have all of the ins and outs of the Enchantress special rules, like kind of memorized and down pat. Steve playing a desert, probably just pinging itself. He doesn't have a target for it. He's at 6 mana. We should see that Infernal Legion. Oh, no. He's going to choose to do a Lava Flow instead. Lava Flow for 5 will clear the board. Steve attacking with Tawny for another point, and then passing. I don't know why Steve is holding on to that Infernal Legion. I think I would have opted to use that instead. Playing that on Vesuvius would have taken care of would have cleared board for him. He would take 3 points on his own Druid with that placement, but then on next turn he's in a position to run up with the Infernal Legion for 6 points of damage, and then burn the Enchantress for another 3. So like the potential damage swing for getting that thing on the board is huge at this point, especially because he's got that ring out. He keeps threatening to he keeps just pinging up every turn, stabilizing. You wanna get him to door as soon as possible. And especially since it doesn't seem like Brenton's drawing what he needs. I think he played that Lookout, and then did not have a follow-up for that turn. He had to pass it back to Steve. Steve looking at his options. I mean, honestly, I still think that you get the Legion out. You get the Legion out. Threaten for 6 points of damage. I don't know why he's holding on to it. I don't know if he's afraid that maybe Brenton's holding on to some sort of removal for it. But he has the mana base for it, and it would put a real timer. It would put a real timer on Brenton if he brought that thing out, because it's going to threaten 6 points of damage, and if he gets it into position adjacent to the Enchantress, more realistically like 9 points of damage if it goes off at the end of turn. Instead, he's going to Colicky, Dragonets. The infiltrated vampire, I believe he just moved to the desert. He didn't attack, so it was just a reposition on that thing. Maybe he's trying to set up and get ready for a future turn here soon, where he plays out that Legion. It's possible that Steve is thinking of that Legion as like his kill condition here. Once he gets in the door, just play out Infernal Legion and have the Legion combust for 3 points that the Enchantress can't defend against. Which is an interesting thought, but he's so far back, like the Legion would still have to move up, and I feel like it attacks for so much damage that I think it's worth just getting it out on the board and putting that turn timer on him sooner rather than later. Brenton playing a Warhorse, pinging with the ring, and then attacking with the Warhorse to finish off the Colicky Dragonets. And that was the best. And that was the best that he could do. I can't see Brenton's hand. I don't know how many cards he has left in his hand at this point. So I don't know at this point if he is holding on to anything, or if he is just really in top deck mode. Steve swinging in with Tawny again for a point of damage. Steve attacking for 4 points. Trying to monstrous lion in. That I think that's a misplay. It doesn't look like either player caught that. And I think Steve just, regardless of that being not a legal play. So first of all, like it's not a legal play because the vampire has airborne, and the monstrous lion does not, so it cannot attack into the vampire without airborne. But neither of them caught that. So what happened was the lion attacked in, the vampire strikes the lion, Enchantress gains 4 points of damage. So Steve kind of just removes the vampire, but undoes all of the damage gain that he did from attacking the site to begin with. So it was kind of a wash for him. Again, neither player caught that mistake, so we're just going to continue with the board state as is. Another Apprentice Wizard, another ping onto the Warhorse, gain a life. He's drawing a spell off of the Wizard. He's got another chump blocker. He's got his own Warhorse. He's gonna ping the Steve's Warhorse again for the second point to kill it. Go up another point, attack for 2 points of damage, and pass turn. Honestly, still at this point, I feel like the positioning is right for that Infernal Legion. Despite the fact that if he played it on the site with the Warhorse, Steve would take 3 points of damage at the end of turn as well. I think it's worth it to clear out the Warhorse, deal 3 points to the Enchantress, and then threaten to attack in with the Legion and deal 3 more points at the end of turn if unanswered. Peeking at Steve's hand, I think I see a Disintegrate in his hand as well. So he's got some good removal options if Brenton manages to get something on the board. And a Torsammer Trinket on the Tawny. Steve forgetting that... I think Steve forgot that the Apprentice Wizard could block. Or maybe he wanted to force the block. And there comes the Infernal Legion. Onto the board here. It is going to end turn and combust everything for 3 points of damage, like I said. So Steve will take 3 points, Enchantress will take 3 points. The Warhorse takes 3. Passing turn to Brent. Brenton infiltrating the Infernal Legion, which is an interesting play. Just because he's not going to maintain control that for long, because at the end of his turn it will combust again. It's an interesting choice as well to move the Enchantress on top of the Infernal Legion, instead of out of the adjacency path of the Infernal Legion. He's playing the Warhorse, moving it up. I don't love that placement. He has a wide board, so he has other options to play the Warhorse outside of the adjacency on the Infernal Legion to let that stick. But he does get a ping off on the ring, so he ticks up off the ring for playing the Warhorse again. So they're all going to take 3 points of damage again here. And they're having a conversation about... They're having a conversation about if stealth breaks from the ability. And they seem to think that stealth is not going to break from that ability, which is not true. Stealth should break when the Infernal Legion deals its damage, since it is the source of the damage, and it has interacted with the realm at that point. Stealth drops, and Infiltrate would break at that point because stealth has dropped, and control would go back to Steve. But again, I think that's just like that was just like a confusion about the rules on Infernal Legion and Stealth on both of their parts, and they have agreed that this is the board state, which is really interesting. So that's how this game is going to play out unless they catch that here in the next minute. Steve trying to disintegrate, but because they still think that the Legion has stealth, Steve is unable to target them to remove that. Looks like he's got a Minor Explosion. Minor Explosion can get through stealth, but it will not deal enough damage to the Legion to remove it off the board here. So Steve definitely in trouble. Choosing to minor explosion the Enchantress instead, just to push in 3 points of damage. Is Steve in a bad position? So Brenton moving forward and attacking with Infernal Legion to get Steve to door. And then he's going to play Great Famine just to remove that threat from the board. Alternatively, just because of the way that they've chose to play that board state and to play with the rules with Infernal Legion and Infiltrate, etc., we're just going to accept that that's how this game played out. Alternatively, he could have just left it there, and it would have forced Steve to make some moves so that the Infernal Legion doesn't just immediately kill him at the end of his turn when Brenton passes it back to him. So that was potentially something else that Brenton could have done. If he has a kill in his hand, though, like a different kill spell in his hand, though, it is probably safer just to play Great Famine and remove that threat from the board entirely. I mean, Steve still hasn't flipped his Druid. I mean, he's already on door now, so now's the time to do it. Flip it out, get Bruin. Tawny Torse Hammers to door for the Enchantress. 5 for a Manticore. And then choosing not to flip for Bruin. I don't know if he forgot that was an option or not. So the Enchantress, with the kill spell, animating the Great Famine by casting Shadow Strike. And the way that the Enchantress rules layer and work, that actually is a legal play to cast the spell, animate it into a minion, and then use that as the target when the spell doesn't specify target. It just the wording on Shadow Strike, I think, says like friendly or ally. And so, like, you choose that, like, once the spell, when the spell resolves. So, like, you cast the spell, it animates, it becomes a minion. Then he chooses that minion, that aura minion, to Shadow Strike and strike for the final damage needed on Death's Door there. Really interesting game to watch. Unfortunately, they made a couple like play errors that neither of them caught during the game. And again, sometimes that's just how the game goes. It is up to both players to maintain board state during play. This isn't like a huge tournament where we have multiple judges roaming the floor or spectating. So it really is up to the players, like, participating in the game to kind of not police, but to help each other out and maintain a correct board state. But good sportsmanship all around, really fun to watch, and we'll move on to round 3.